What kind of faith keeps walking when the promise feels impossible? Long before history remembered kings and empires, there was a man who stepped into the unknown with nothing but a calling in his heart. His name was Abraham, and his story is not just about miracles. It is about trust, waiting, failure, and a faith that endured even when the promise seemed painfully out of reach. Before we begin, if you enjoy meaningful stories from the Bible that explore faith, wisdom, and the human struggle, take a moment to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss future stories like this one. Let's begin. The call to leave. Everything behind. Abraham was not born a hero of faith. He lived in Ur of the Chaldeans, a prosperous city filled with idols and comfort. His name was Abram, and his life followed a predictable path until God interrupted it. One day, God spoke to Abram with a command that made no sense by human standards. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. No map, no timeline, no guarantee, except a promise. God promised Abram 3 things. 1. A great nation would come from him. 2. His name would be made great. 3. Through him, all nations of the earth would be blessed. There was only one problem. Abram was 75 years old, and his wife Sarai was barren, yet Abram obeyed. He packed his tents, gathered his household, and began walking toward a land he had never seen, the land God promised, later known as Canaan. Faith, in its earliest form, often looks like obedience without explanation. The promise that tested patience. Years passed. Abram walked the hills of Canaan, built altars, and worshipped God, but the promise remained unfulfilled. No child, no heir, no nation. Sarai grew older. Hope quietly slipped away. Eventually, Sarai proposed a solution, one that reflected the customs of the time, but not the heart of God. She offered her Egyptian servant Hagar to Abram so that a child could be born through her. Abram agreed. Hagar conceived, and Ishmael was born. At first, it seemed like the promise was finally taking shape, but peace did not follow. Tension, jealousy, and pain filled the household. Sarai felt dishonored. Hagar felt despised. Abram stood helpless between them. This was a hard lesson. Human shortcuts can never replace divine promises. God had not forgotten Abram, but he would not fulfill his promise through human impatience. A new name, a renewed covenant. When Abram was 99 years old, God appeared again. This time, God did not merely repeat the promise, he sealed it with a covenant. Abram became Abraham, meaning father of many nations. Sarai became Sarah, meaning princess. God declared something impossible. Sarah will bear you a son. Sarah laughed when she heard it, not out of joy, but disbelief. She was far beyond childbearing years. Her body had long surrendered that hope. But God responded with words that echo through history. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Isaac, the child of promise. At the appointed time, the impossible happened. Sarah conceived. Laughter filled the tent, not mocking laughter, but joyful wonder. The child was named Isaac, which means he laughs. Isaac was not just a son. He was a living testimony that God keeps his promises, no matter how late they seem. But peace was still fragile. Conflict between Ishmael and Isaac grew. Eventually, Hagar and Ishmael were sent away. It was painful, yet God reassured Abraham that Ishmael would also become a great nation. But Isaac was the child of the covenant. The promise had a name, and his name was Isaac, the ultimate test of faith. Years later, when Isaac had grown, God tested Abraham in a way that defies human logic. God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." There was no argument recorded, no delay, no negotiation. Early the next morning, Abraham rose, prepared the wood, and began the journey. For 3 days, Abraham walked toward the mountain, each step heavier than the last. Isaac, innocent and trusting, asked a question that pierced Abraham's soul. "Father, where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" Abraham answered with words born from deep faith, "God himself will provide the lamb." The God who provides on the mountain, Abraham built the altar. He bound Isaac. He raised the knife. And at that exact moment, God intervened. "Abraham, Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy." A ram appeared, caught in a thicket. Isaac was spared. The sacrifice was provided. Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide." This moment revealed the depth of Abraham's faith. He trusted that God could even raise the dead if necessary. His obedience was complete. Through this act, God reaffirmed his covenant. "Through your offspring, all nations of the earth will be blessed." Why Abraham's story still matters. Abraham's journey teaches us timeless truths. Faith often begins with leaving comfort. Waiting is part of God's process. Human solutions cannot replace divine timing. God keeps promises even when they seem impossible. True faith trusts God without knowing the outcome. Abraham was not perfect. He doubted. He failed. He waited painfully long. Yet he trusted God enough to keep walking. And because of that faith, his story still speaks to us today. If this story encouraged you, take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what part of Abraham's journey touched you the most. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories from the Bible that explore faith, wisdom, and the human heart. Thank you for listening.